do the full court press like we did last year.
Jump in.
Okay.
I like the end where it said, it didn't say.
Your husband told me he tries to do that all the time. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's a little tight in here. Everybody's up close tonight. It's a different look. Welcome to the work session. Tonight we're having a work session at Poquoson City Council with a couple different committees, and it is Monday, March 23rd. First, we're going to meet with the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Looking forward to that discussion. And then we're going to have a discussion after this on the capital improvements plan for fiscal years 2016 through 2020. So how would we like to proceed? Parks and Rec?
Yes.
You
Thank you very much for letting us come here today and talk to you about what we believe are some of our priorities for the Parks and Rec in the coming years. Now, when I sent you the memorandum, we really didn't have a priority. So if you're looking at the list of what we're going to talk about, it's not from highest to lowest priority. Though I have to say that on the very first slide for the Poquoson Park projects, thank you. This is one of our priorities. It is a lower cost item. When Nikki Massey was on the board and Judy Massey has been on the board, they did a lot for the East Messick Park to make it into fruition, to have a small park there for the children that live there. Well, one of the concerns we have now is there's no really place for like the parents to just sit and watch their children in a covered spot. So we felt that having a small pocket one table kiosk like the one that you see in the screen at that shelter would help a lot for the parents that are living around there. Now, we would like to see this, if this works out, maybe to expand it either to South Lawson too. And we estimate the cost on that was between $6,000 and $8,000.
Deb, can I ask?
Sure.
Did you price a larger one as well?
No, it's a smaller park, and when I was talking to Judy, she thought that they only kind of needed, for the use, we only probably needed one. Are you talking about like having a larger one for if there was a family reunion type of thing?
Or if you build it, they will come kind of thing, especially if we put in playground type things.
Yeah, they already have some playground equipment there.
There are a lot of people that use it too.
Yeah, there are. I think our thoughts at the Messick, the little pocket park at East Messick was just that it is such a small park that maybe a smaller covered picnic table would be sufficient because there's just not so much room there. But possibly at South Lawson, something a little bit larger might
That's
be.
what I was talking about. I wasn't sure which one we were speaking of. Okay.
Yeah, we hadn't priced larger ones. So.
We just priced the smaller ones because we thought that would be best for East Messick.
Yeah, some of the family members have wanted something there, to go sit, maybe have lunch and watch their kids. And we do have like swings and that type.
little pocket park.
It is small.
Okay, but that's a small park. And that's basically a playground park, right? I'm thinking the right place.
Yes.
I was thinking of
So
South
basically, you're trying to say we're looking at these types of shelters sized to fit for the various facilities.
That is correct.
Is that fair?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is right across Marie's Road, right in the curve.
Right.
All right, and we're also we're looking at having a permanent restroom facility at South Lawson. I know that that's in the FY17 right now, and we've priced it at about $50,000. That includes any preparations we have to make to actually put the structure in. Do you have any questions about that one too?
Was Lions Club raising money for that?
I'm sorry?
Is the Lions Club raising money for that?
No, it's too big a cost item to have something for the temporary one we priced out approximately $35,000 to $40,000, and the permanent one I would hazard to guess probably double that, along with the plumbing, electricity, and then the sewage hookups. It would require elevation, like was done down at the restrooms.
So it's
down at
well
Messick.
beyond our
Yeah,
club
way,
scope.
way
Okay.
beyond.
Did the city already run the utilities?
Tom might be able to answer that better as far as whether there's out at South Lawson Park. There's electricity connection points.
Sewer,
Water,
water.
sewer.
Right now, we've actually got some electricity out there which still have to be tapped into. We actually ran water lines and sewer lines, out to a certain point. We have not gone through those waterworks to put to hook the water up. They have to put a valve out there, and that's, to my recollection, to get is, they go on certain sizes to how much water you would actually need out there.
Right.
So depending on what we would put to what it would take. And that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000 the last time I checked.
Just for the connection.
So,
Well, look, that portable facility kind of offers a lot in a lot of different places. How portable is portable? I mean, is that really something that we can move in a storm? Is that something that we can?
On a trail.
Is it something that in the dead of winter we can move for freeze protection?
That one right there, the little plant covers up the wheels. The wheel wells.
Oh, okay.
And so basically it lowers back down on the ground and goes back up. There's a trailer hitch you can see on the right side of it.
Okay.
And everything kind of folds up into a one-piece unit. It's basically 2 regular stalls and 1 handicap accessible stall for that.
And it can be hooked up to the sewer, or it can be
Right.
freestanding,
Right.
Yes.
portable, where it's pumped out.
So, I mean, all I'm saying is from the perspective of saying, okay, it's got to be at South Lawson.
Right.
That sounds like something that we need to look at, do 3 meet all of your needs in the city type of thing, rotating around for seasonal use.
That's
Or-
what we were thinking. It could be moved as needed
Right.
for different functions.
We like that. I like that anyway, and plus gives us some capacity if we had a tragic event or basically needed restroom facilities because of a bad storm event or whatever. So I like that.
It was about, I think, it's about $40,000.
35 to 40.
$35,000 to $40,000 for the mobile one when we looked at it, and we were including the $10,000 for all of the hookups that needed to be
Yeah,
done.
I think you're right. You'd have to have an elevator down there to get into the other one once you solved it for elevation of floods and all that sort of stuff. So I like it. Okay.
Okay. We have some community partners with this one for any existing facility improvements like trail enhancements, business and playground program, and they're probably cost about $5,000, $8,000 a piece. And we're just kind of showing examples in this picture of things that we would like to have. We're thinking too about the municipal park. We have a community partner there that we can improve the park being used for that.
How many community partners do y'all have on these parks?
Two.
We know.
Lions Club's
Potentially
one of them.
3. Yes, 3.
American Legion.
And Select Soccer with ISA, Poquoson Sharks.
Do we give them credit on the signs and stuff like that, on the signage?
We have not done the signage yet. I think that would be an excellent idea.
I mean, if there are,
Very pleased to do so.
if you,
Yeah, we put the scoreboard Exchange Club did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the exchange did the school board at the middle school.
all I'm saying is, we need to give credit where credit's due.
Right.
Okay? So let's make sure that we always, if we have a partner in the park, that they get equal billing with us.
Currently, soccer has the South Lawson, at South Lawson has the Poquoson Lions. All the kids that are playing there at that location are named with their uniform. So each kid is wearing their partnership there, but I still think signs would be great as well.
And this is also in FY17 for lighting upgrades for the existing field areas that are in the CIP. The highest one would be the Firth ball field as far as the costs are concerned. And
The new poles and, is that poles and lights?
Yes.
Or is that use, okay.
And that also includes at Firth potential for tennis courts to tie to it as well. The existing Musco system is there with the high school system already. So.
Okay.
Okay. And then we went over, we'd still like the continued maintenance costs for the tennis courts, and there's going to be a windscreen's going to be installed in spring of 2015, which we're saying that some of the lighting could all be incorporated with the lighting for the other facilities. Okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, did I see a
sorry.
price on that?
No, because that is this was just a priority. We don't know about the continuing maintenance that we would like from when y'all make your budget considerations that continually upgrading.
The total replacement or upgrade to the court itself, which would the small maintenance can be done with crack repair, and that's been a continual thing through the Parks Maintenance Division and Public Works budget. But large court replacement would be a major ticket item that would have to go into the CIP.
And that's not part of the school budget?
No, they,
That's of
no,
course.
they shamed us. They made their courts look really good, and ours look like, they need to be looking really good.
City courts are very compared to the high school courts.
There was an upgrade where the fence was painted, and it looks a lot better. It needed to be done. I know the mayor has pushed for some things that was within budget means last fall. And that's where the windscreen money has come.
Unless the schools would like to take those. I mean, it just dawned on me that, Yeah.
They do play some of their games on.
We might be able to work out a trade. Okay.
All right, and on the CIP for FY14, there was the beach at Messick Point, because we really don't have a beach in Poquoson for having all the coastline that we have, but that's going to cost about approximately $85,000. But I think that's just the initial all sand, and that's not even saying how much when we have to
clean it,
re-sand from when we have a
that's infrastructure to support sand.
And it doesn't include any netting or any of that stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's just sand.
Got it. Okay.
It's the sand.
I would only say that on the discussion of beaches, we hear you. I know that, and Deb, I guess we need to make sure that when we talk to folks about beaches at the federal level and all those things for access, that in the future that we include y'all in that discussion. Because yes, we've had some discussion points dealing with some nice areas that we think would be really good, and actually it's not one of those. But we're not making a lot of hay on that, but probably getting y'all involved in that campaign, and therefore the citizens involved in that campaign, might bode well for all of us. So let's make sure that we incorporate them into
This
that.
past weekend, Judy and I worked at the Kiwanis flea market they had. We had a booth there, and the number of people who came around and saw things and stuff, it was amazing, the people that thought they had access to water when they actually moved into Poquoson. They Googled it, looked at the pictures and the sky, and then they realized, geez, I really can't get to water. Even though I've moved into this town that has 80 miles of shoreline, I can't get there. We heard that over and over and over again on Saturday, so it's like we almost owe it to our populace to get that available.
Okay.
I thought that was a really good move to have y'all out there doing that, because you really contacted a bunch of folks.
We did.
It was
Yeah.
nearly
It
a
was very
continuous
good.
line at y'all's
Yeah,
place.
Yeah. The biggest thing was the kayaking, the blue waters. We handed out this little flyer that shows the little routes that they have, and most people were intimidated because they go down to Cedar Road and they look at the water and think, oh my gosh, where am I going? Then look at this little chart, and it's only 2 miles over to this thing, and and that was a real moneymaker. People were very pleased to know that they could do these things.
Great.
The last is the kayak fishing pier at Amory's Wharf, and we kind of want some guidance from y'all for this. The last couple of years, we've looked into this, and there is a grant out there that we could apply for. But before we do all of the necessary paperwork for it, which is going to take a lot, and we had actually kind of started on it last year, but we thought it might be, we were wondering if it was going to be cost prohibitive or not. And that has to do with making a kayak fishing pier out there, which is also ADA accessible. So when we were looking into that, we got an estimate of about, am I correct, $100,000 for a pier for out at Amory's Wharf, because it's going to have to go out 300 feet.
And a couple questions on that. One, does the city own the existing footprint? Who owns the footprint of the pier?
What's that part right there?
I'm looking at all those
You're talking about
poles.
the old one?
Yeah.
That has, from what I
You
understand,
see here, yes.
We own
Yes.
that, correct? The city.
Yes, what's here, that is the existing launch at low tide.
That's the launch. I'm talking about the old pier pilings.
Pilings.
The pilings themselves, I'm assuming it was a private pier at one time. And the question is it still a privately, it's not a pier, obviously.
In our consult with VMRC during the research stage of the grant, when we were pursuing it, they recommended that these be removed for the installation of new piers. But I don't know if
I don't ever pull up a pier piling unless we know for absolute fact
I
we'll
know what
never
you're
use it
saying,
again.
right.
Okay.
That would have to be maybe in the investigation with the family that came with the property. I don't know if that connects or.
Well, I'm just saying it's a fundamental question that we need to know the answer to.
Okay.
Whether we team with a public-private partnership to get a pier, or but I don't want to take it off the books.
okay.
All right, so why don't we just leave it at that? Yes, it's cost prohibitive right now, but it is still something that we need to be talking about on a repetitive basis, especially with the new park there. Okay, and I really see that as a potential launching point for a kayak business. And I know the people love to go down there, and it looks really nice. Randy and really, I should compliment Parks and Rec, Public Works for what they have done down there. But I don't want to take it off the agenda and say, well, we're not considering this anymore. At least that's my perspective.
How much was the grant back?
The grant was, yes, it's like 24. It's 70, we would have to match, 10% of the research, and they would have to match, let's see, we would have to match 25% of the total project cost. That would be hard dollar, which could include cash and value of land.
The value of land, that's helpful.
So,
That's the Virginia Saltwater.
right, this is the VMRC
Okay.
grant. So,
Does the council agree, disagree is what I'm basically saying? I just don't want to take it off the table.
I think sooner rather than later is good on that one.
We need that.
Okay. I give you what you need
yes,
as
did
far as
you
keeping it in there?
Keep it in there,
keep it in
please
there?
do.
I think that might be all we have. Do you have any questions for us or any guidance for us?
Thanks for
Counsel?
you.
I think they're doing a super job. Every time I drive by any of the fields anywhere, there's, hundreds of young children out there, and down at the Pocket Park we were talking about, and going down to Michigan Point, there's always people in there, so I think y'all are doing great.
Anybody else? Okay, like I said, I think the big thing that I want y'all to know is that, one, we appreciate what you do. That's always the case. You do a lot with a little, and we know that. It's mostly, I think, our fault in that we haven't communicated with you on the. Randy and I have been working pretty hard on trying to get access at Plumtree Island, at Cow Island, at places like this, and we need to bring y'all on board and make sure that you are with us and doing that letter writing campaign behind the scenes. That because we're not getting a lot of traction. Is that fair? But they do have this really pretty decision loop.
No room for attraction or implementation there.
It is the federal government, and They have a really neat decision loop that comes all the way around. It never says implement, but it does restart the study.
Restart.
Okay, so we're trying to get a new step in there. But I appreciate it, and I don't have anything further. So thank y'all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all very much.
Okay, capital improvements plan. Who's going to give the overview on this? And we'll wait a minute. I'm not trying to rush right into it. But
I think I'll do
You're gonna do it?
60 seconds, and then let Jennifer speak, and then I'll kind of wrap up. But
Jennifer, you coming up? Come on, we're going to talk about tennis courts. Yep, we're ready for you. No, he's going to go
I'll set
first.
the table, and then you go. You can get ready. I will set the table for that one. Okay. Good. Ready, Mayor?
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
All right. Members of council, thank you for the opportunity to brief the recommended capital improvements plan for the upcoming 5 years, to also include out-year projections of projects. You'll recall last year we went through every line in this document. I decided not to do that again for you this year, in part because everything that was there is pretty much still there. The very short answer is the budget itself, at least in the short term, is constrained by the money we have. We don't have any dedicated local money going into the CIP, meaning ongoing. So we've been able to use one-time money. We've been fortunate to have it to hit things like bus replacement and police car replacement and a little bit of TMDL. And that's pretty much where it stops, and I'm not seeing that change anytime in the near future. So Tom and others are here. If you have questions for them, you'll see there's a few items. I'm hopeful that I can give you a recommended budget that includes the cash outlay for such things as a bus and a dump truck. Dump truck's a big one. That's unusual for us. And a police car. A little bit of money for TMDL. But beyond that, in the short term, there's really not much. And those issues really haven't changed. We don't have sufficient revenue capacity, regular ongoing revenue capacity, to engage anything new, significantly new in terms of a new project. And we're being faced with the compounding age of our facilities and our equipment, and we're hitting it as we can, but it's coming at us faster than we can deal with it in the short term. So what I thought would be more useful of your time, you certainly know that, is to, instead of going through each line, to really focus on what are the most important things facing you from a capital facilities overarching process. They're both school related. Superintendent's here, and I think she's prepared to walk you through that overview that she and the school board are doing as they think about what to do with current facilities and what to do with new facilities. And at that point, I'll stop talking and allow Jennifer to walk you through it, and then I'll close up.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you. Just a reminder, and this is more or less for the community that may be watching this evening too, that in 2008 and 2009, we developed a very comprehensive capital improvement plan, and we did this because we wanted to make it possible to ensure the longevity of our facilities and to make sure that we didn't have any surprises in costs if we had major equipment failures or other issues with our facilities. Now, since we first developed that, the city, you all, have funded the purchase of 2 buses as well as a new boiler and chiller for the middle school, which really helped us out tremendously, as you know, at the middle school, and helped to ensure the longevity of that building. So we certainly greatly appreciated that. I know I don't need to remind you, but I certainly would like to make sure our community understands that in all of the cuts that have come to K-12 public education in the last 6 years, one of them was the cut of all state school construction funds. So prior to the recession, we had funding available that helped to pay down some of the debt service that we as a school division add for the city, as well as helping with costs for maintenance. And again, for our community, I know that the financial support from you has been going towards our operating budget, in which you've provided us over $1 million of funding in the last 6 years as the state has continually reduced its support of education, which has made it challenging clearly for a capital improvement plan, when what we've really needed is for you to help us keep our schools operating and running. Now, there's 3 issues, and this Randy sort of alluded to this, and these are the 3 issues that are really impacting long-term our capital improvement plan. So I just want to once again remind you and our community about them, because I think they're going to drive our decision-making in the coming months, coming year. The first one you see there is enrollment, and I know you're well aware of it, but I want everybody to continue to be reminded of the fact that we've seen tremendous decrease in enrollment since 2006. That was our highest point of enrollment, at least as far as the data that I have for Poquoson City Schools, and we've decreased as of September 30th of this year by 483 students. All the numbers that you see there for 2011 through 14 are our count for enrollment on September 30th. So you can see what that's meant for us in terms of our enrollment loss. Now, we had a bit of an anomaly this year. Between September 30th and January 12th, we actually saw an increase of 18 students. So our decrease from last year to this year is actually only 14 students, but it's important to note it is still a decrease in enrollment. We just picked up kids. The other thing that's so important for this enrollment loss, which ties to our operating budget, but is important, is that it really impacts our local composite index. And that's what determines our locality's ability to pay for education. So as our enrollment decreases, our LCI goes up, which then costs us more money because we're losing state funding as a result of that, and as we have been turning to you all for help. So enrollment impacts our operating budget tremendously, but obviously impacts our capital improvement plan, especially as I move to the next topic. So clearly, we have a lot of room for children, and my hope is that we'll find some way to turn our enrollment so that we can fill the space that we have. Now, tied to this is the notion of school consolidation. As you probably well remember, 2011, 2012, the school board set up a school consolidation committee. It was made up of division staff, community members, parents. We had city representation at those meetings. And ultimately, what they concluded is in the 11-12 school year moving into the 12-13, we should not consolidate schools at that time. However, if in 2016 our projected decline in enrollment had actually occurred, that's the point when we should begin the talk about consolidating schools. And what the committee recommended and the school board agreed with, that the school that it would make most sense to close would be the primary school. We might capture some financial gain by doing that, because it might be that some organization or company could use it, and it would also ensure that we had natural transitions. In other words, our elementary could become K4, middle school might be 5-8 or 5-7, high school 8-12 or 9-12. So we've been obviously tracking enrollment, as you can see from the previous slide. Now, note that at our enrollment on September 30th of this year, we're only 60 students away from that number that our consolidation committee saw for 2016. So we are getting very close in terms to enrollment at the point where I believe we're going to have that serious conversation about closing a school and going to a 3-school system, if we don't find a way to turn the enrollment and see an increase in the next couple of years. And the Poquoson Middle School is such an important part of the CIP that you have. And again, that ties into this enrollment discussion as well. You well know, because we presented a facility study to you along with the school board in the fall of 2013. Very detailed, had a series of options ranging from doing minor repairs to building a whole new school, ranging from the cost of about $4.5 million up to $27 million, depending on what option that we would choose. But what we've done is we have been in a holding pattern here, because if we have to close a school and consolidate to 3, as I said, the grades may be a little bit different at the middle school. So clearly, if we're going to plan a renovation, no matter what type of renovation we do, or if we were to build a school, we would want to take into account exactly what that school would look like for the future. So that's why while we presented all that information to you, it's still sitting as a facility study on the CIP for you. I want you to know that certainly the school board and school division staff have not forgotten about that. We're just waiting to see what happens with enrollment and if we're going to have to move to that school consolidation. Again, remaining hopeful that perhaps with a little bit that we saw this year, that maybe we're starting to see the turn, because I know this community would like to keep a 4-school system, and certainly a primary school is unique. There aren't many of those grade level schools in the state. Now, I, like Mr. Wheeler, did not plan on walking you through our CIP. You've seen this. I presented this to you. I just wanted, again, to remind you of some of those issues that are swirling around what certainly is the biggest project on the CIP. Clearly, if we went to close a school, then on the primary school, you would see those CIP projects would then no longer be necessary because the school division would no longer be using that building. So I, too, am happy to answer any questions that you do have here. Briefly to bus replacement, because you have purchased a couple of buses, and I know Mr. Wheeler is continuing to support that in this current CIP. We still have 9 buses that are 16 years or older. The state, as part of its reduction of funding for schools, said that you should go from a 12-year replacement cycle to 15. So clearly we're still well beyond even the 15-year replacement cycle, but we do appreciate the support that we've gotten in that. And that's why you see those every year on the CIP. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your support.
Are students leaving, being like pulled out of our school system and sent elsewhere? Or is it just that people are graduating and we don't have enough behind them?
Yeah, people are graduating. So our class, I believe, next year we're looking at having 182 students with 106 in the senior class, with 116 kindergartners projected. So what's happening is those students are moving through the school. We're not getting more people moving in and creating larger classes. Prior to 2006, what you could see was that it was clear families were moving in and bringing kids in. And so while the primary grades have always been a little smaller, they would pick up as they got to upper elementary, middle, and high. Suspect it was because families could potentially afford to move in at that time. And now that's not what we're seeing. We're not getting the turnover in houses with families coming in. So if somebody does leave, we're not necessarily getting somebody to buy, but people aren't purposely pulling kids out of the schools.
Along those lines, I know a couple of years back, it was a nationwide trend that there simply were not as many kindergarten children that year. How is it looking, the next few years? Have you looked at?
Yeah, it's still, at this point, we're still seeing the trending of loss of enrollment for the next few years, still small kindergarten classes. We do see, though, divisions around us where they're seeing actually increase enrollment. So there we can capture, there are families out there with students that potentially could move to us and increase our enrollment. I'm just hoping we can find ways to connect with them. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Brandon, back to you.
Thank you, sir. So I think you've captured the flavor of sort of where we are. Where our budget is generally is we have enough money to do what we've been doing. We have very little money to do anything new. And to the extent that we have money, we've got a backlog of equipment replacement and capital maintenance on both sides that we're putting it to. The good news is, that's good news in that a few years ago, we didn't have that. And that was responsible in part for this backlog. So we are beginning to make progress. We certainly have, from an equipment standpoint and capital maintenance, several things, and I think Dr. Parrish's slide showed that for schools. We have similar on our side. Unless there's a fundamental change to the way that our revenues are coming into the future, for the foreseeable future, I think we will be triaging the capital maintenance and equipment replacement that is highest priority, most time sensitive, the best we can. I really don't see a surging revenue stream based on where we are right now that's going to take us to really the new projects and other things that we really need to that we'd like to talk about. We heard some of those from the Parks and Recreation Board. They gave you a modest list of nice, well thought out, needed improvements, and much of that, like many other things, are beyond our reach, at least in the midterm. And all of that is against a backdrop of two things. Dr. Parrish talked about the middle school. We all know that school needs some significant work. The exact nature of that work is yet to be decided, but we know that that's on our horizon, and it's not at the extreme edge of it. And at the same time, we have the city's TMDL obligations. Ellen's done a masterful job with the assistance of others, but spearheaded by Ellen, to get us a plan that's going to take us through that first 5-year, 5% requirement. I believe, Ellen, the requirement for the next 5 years is 40%.
Right, so an additional 35% or 7 times what we have to do during this current period.
And beyond that is 60% on top of that. We've got some significant mandates coming our way, which, if you count the renovation of the middle school as a soft mandate, just for a moment, that's what our future looks like. And so there's no other way to say it. That's just what it looks like. We've got a stable but very slowly growing revenue stream, and a whole lot of things that are in need to be addressed by it. And so that's why we didn't take you back through every item in this plan. What's presented in year one is what I think we can afford. It'll be incorporated, assuming that you endorse it. It'll be incorporated in the budget. We can afford it. And
what are those? Can you break those out? And
I'd be glad to.
Discussion about those.
The monies for next year, FY16, bus replacement, $90,000. You'll see some money associated with the Wythe Creek project. That's state money, but that's $200,000, which is expected to be spent next year towards the larger project.
And that's the repaving and the...
That's the widening project.
Oh, the widening project.
That's just the next year's little piece of expense for the larger $12 million plus Poquoson piece of the Wythe Creek Road widening project. We're planning $250,000 of TMDL expenses, combination of grants and other factors. We'll have to figure a way to get that done. $90,000 towards the continuation of the piping project on Little Florida Road. That's coming out of state funds. Okay. We had a relatively small and constrained amount of state funds, and we keep breaking it into smaller pieces. So while I certainly recommend this, every amount that we take and put one place just comes away from repaving or other things. There's no significant new money there, I guess what I'm saying. Street paving, again with state money at $374,000. A dump truck, you'll recall from Mr. Jones' presentation last year on his equipment, there are actually several pieces of very near to equal need, but this is a combination of need, maintenance records, age, and the ability to afford it with what we have.
I don't think anybody on this council is going to argue with Public Works' need for a dump truck after this winter season and the way that these guys take care of the equipment that we provide for them. I know they do a great job with it. So
I concur, sir. To wrap up the recommendations for the upcoming year, you see the Messick Point breakwater, which reflects the grant that you've authorized to put forward, and then 3 items in utilities that are paid for out of the utility fund, generator replacement, some maintenance, a small addition of the maintenance building there, and using monies coming from the fund, and work associated with the consent order.
Let me ask you this question, and council, y'all can weigh in on this, but that one thing that Parks and Rec Advisory Board was talking about, the portable restroom facility. I really kind of see that as something maybe we should consider to move forward, because we do have a lot of facilities and not a lot of facilities at those facilities, so to speak. So just food for thought that you may want to consider. What does it look like for us if we were to do something like that?
Sure.
Okay. Even if we hot seat it from place to place or whatever, but a start down that road.
South Austin Park during soccer season.
Right.
One of those instances.
I just don't want to ever get into the situation. I think Port Norfolk got themselves into not too long ago. They made the news for all the lack of facilities and where people went for that. So
we could put that on the add delete list. So as soon as we begin the budget, we'll
just take a look at
prompt
it.
us to talk about it. Sure.
Randy,
Yeah.
do we have the flexibility for that dump truck? Do we have the flexibility to do a lease purchase? It might, I know it'll cost you more in the long run.
Absolutely.
We won't have to outlay $150,000 right away, and maybe that would give us some money to do one of these projects.
Absolutely, we do. Traditionally, the city has never done that.
Right.
And so in keeping with that fine tradition, we don't have that here. But you absolutely have that, a capital lease for that kind of equipment. Absolutely. Would you like us to explore that and bring you back some options on that?
Well, because if it frees up,
Money.
say you can do a lease purchase that's only going to cost you $50,000 a year, that frees up $100,000.
It does.
Either something else Parks and Rec needs right away, or, the Public Works, or we could do.
Either way, and
one or more towards.
we're not trying to short one over the other, I think is what you're saying, but is it more effective to get a few things behind us for that backlog that you were talking about that we've kind of built up?
Absolutely. Be glad to look at that.
Just look at some options on that and let us know.
And the drainage project on Little Florida, that's at that same piece that we.
Is that the pipe?
That's the continuation of that, and
That's the pipe the rest of the way down? Is that what that is?
Pipe on
the rest.
side of the road. I've got, we'll start getting the north side of the road this summer, but the south side is what that additional funding was. When we talked about it at council, I talked about extending it to the south side project, which was a bit more extensive than the work on the north side of Little Florida. So.
The north side project should begin construction this summer.
Now, I know it's not one for the coming fiscal year, but on page 33, when we talk about paved ditches, the one that's earmarked there for Odd Road near Kids Island, would it be better to think about pipe there instead of paved ditch, if it's where I'm thinking it is?
Certainly, we can look into that.
Where is that? Where is this one?
That was the one that Jerry identified as an erosion issue.
Is that the one we just concreted?
The one that I had in there was the one that I'm pretty sure Buddy just said, and I've already had that done.
Yeah, I know there was.
It was the one in between
Yeah.
Kids Island from.
I think it was just done.
Yeah, that was.
Kids Island and Community Center is concrete.
Yeah, I've already paved the one from Odd Road beside Kids Island all the way to the concession stand, and I think that's the one you're speaking of. I'm not sure, because Ellen.
That's why I wanted to know, because that's what I was thinking. You did it with your existing savings and
Right.
budget or whatever, but another great job of management there. So I just want to make sure that if it's still in there and needs to come out, you can.
Yeah, what we had is we had gotten a list from Jerry Cagle and the guys of which ditches created the largest problem. So I don't think that the text needs to be updated. It doesn't include all the ditches that were on the list. We'll look at that revised.
Okay.
Tonight we're having the public hearing on this. The plan is not to final adopt. 2 readings? Is that right?
I would
One.
suggest adoption.
Okay, so we'll just need an answer on whether we need to strike that language or not. If y'all can take the 5 or 10 minutes to figure out if that's the right one. Anything else, council? Let me just close by saying, I echo 100% what Randy was talking about, Ellen, and the great job you've been doing with this TMDL. But I think I don't want it lost on the public that while we are all struggling to get our feet back under us from a pretty good recession, that I don't think our priorities are aligned, and it's not that they're not aligned from the city's perspective. I would much rather put TMDL money into the schools. Okay? I would much rather put TMDL money into the roads. I would much rather put TMDL money into those emergent needs of things that we have not been able to do. But the federal government and the state government continue to insist that we put a lot of money into TMDL. And sometimes I think we need to evaluate where we're spending our money as a group of citizens. And I'm talking about U.S. citizens. Is this the right thing to do? Because while Ellen's doing a great job doing the work of that federal agency of 17,000, we're not putting the money into the schools that I think is necessary to maintain the level that we need to do with our facilities. And we just keep taking it on the chin, and we keep, through the great work of staff, we seem to come up smelling like a rose, but I think we're tromping through a field of cow manure at times. So y'all are doing a great job with what we give you, and I appreciate that. I know council appreciates that. I just wish that we could get a different set of priorities from our state and local, state and federal government on where to spend our money with hard-earned tax dollars. So now I'll get off my soapbox. Anything else?
Well, just a couple of comments. Okay. Number one, I want to back up your last comment in that I hope everyone who's listening to this on TV would consider calling their congressman about those priorities, because that's what it's going to take. And the other thing is, I've had more phone calls about how well the city did in the snow events than I have about anything else since I've been on city council. Okay? And everyone has told me what a great job the city did and how well it was until we got outside the city. Okay? And so my compliments to the city staff. They did an excellent job.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. We'll close this work session up. We'll be up in about 5 minutes. Thanks.